how to deal with difficult people. Difficult people are such a challenge. But we want to talk about constructive ways to utilize difficult people in our life. What can we learn from difficult people? How can we apply this? Because if you're watching this video, it is because difficult people have caused some kind of discomfort in your life and you want to know how to navigate this. Because the fact of the matter is, people are going to be a part of our life. And we're not only going to be around people who make us feel good, we're going to have those challenging people that come along. And sometimes those challenges can be so big that it really ruins your own happiness. And that's not what we want. That's not a way to live. Though many of us do live like that. And yes, I was one who lived like that for a long time, allowing difficult people to be the people who really impacted the way I moved so much in the course of my days, what I thought about, how I felt, all of the things. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about 3 different things to consider and ways to approach dealing with difficult people. So first, we want to talk about the fact that for some of us, many of us, when we have difficult people in our life, we're going to think about our life like this. Let's think about our life as a play. Let's think about our life as a play. And if we're thinking about our life as a play, one of the main features in a play is a stage. There's a stage that you will see when you watch a play. And in a play, there's usually a main character who takes center stage. And then there are other people in the play who are in the perimeter, who are in the surroundings, who are in the background. There can be people who come up who are a challenge to the main participant, the main player in this play. And if we look at our life like this analogy will really help to put things into perspective. So when we are thinking about our life, we're thinking about our life as a play, and the person, you probably already guessed, who should be at the center stage of this play should be you in your life. And in fact, everyone in their own life should be the center, the main character on the center stage in this play that we're calling life. When we are talking about dealing with difficult people, one of the things that can come up for many people is anxiety. Difficult people can make you feel anxious. And when we take this back to a play, if we're at the center stage, we're controlling the things. We keep ourselves in mind, even though other people come along in the play, we are the main focus. But what I found to be the experience when you are dealing with anxiety because of difficult people is that your role on that stage becomes smaller and smaller, seemingly, and these people become bigger and bigger. And we could even look at it as if they push you off the center of the stage and they become the center of the stage in your life. So in this play called Life, where you're to be the center stage, when we have challenging people, some of these difficult people become the main character because they have, in our mind, become blown up as this giant that seems to be very hard to deal with. And in fact, even if we think of a play, most plays have an antagonist in there or someone who's kind of opposing or challenging the main character at some point. And we can also think about our life like this, that we once were the center stage, and what it can feel like to us is that when these difficult people come along, they become the center stage. But to other people watching, what this also could really mean is that this person is just the antagonist in your life. You should still be the center stage. In fact, you really are still the center stage, but these people come along as the antagonists. In your mind, you may think that they have moved you out of place and that now they become the center stage as you see it. And that's what anxiety does. It blows things up. When we're anxious, it is because we tend to put a focus on something in particular that we probably don't feel comfortable with, and that becomes so ginormous in our mind, and then as a result, in our everyday life. And so when we're thinking about people who can cause this type of emotion, who can cause you to get off of the center stage in the way that you're functioning in your life, is to remember that you in this life are always learning from the easy people and from the difficult people. And in the real reality, even though it may feel like these people have pushed you off of the center stage, because this particular experience you're having is your life, you are still center stage. But in the play, you're giving this person all of the credit right now because you're giving them all of the focus. And so it's important to recognize that you are the main player in your life, this thing that we call life. And that means that your role is important to put more emphasis on. Instead of looking at this person and the lines that they're reciting and the things that they're saying and doing, to get back to your script, what is important to you, what was the purpose of your role in this play? What is the purpose of your role in this life? So that these people who you're putting the energy and the focus on don't have to be so big. And it's difficult sometimes because emotionally we can get connected to what people are doing in our life. But the important thing to remember that I would like to offer you, what I've learned was important for me, is to remember my why of existence, my why of importance, my why of what is important to me, and to put my energy there, to move from that. So that when I'm putting my energy into the things I love, what I love about myself, nurturing who I am, growing in who I am, recognizing maybe where I have weaknesses and growing in those ways, recognizing especially where I have strengths so I can make those shine again. That person who was and is the antagonist in your life, they then get back in line where they belong, back there somewhere in the background, on the back of the stage, somewhere off in the peripheral, but they're not in the center anymore because you put yourself in the center based on the fact that you focus on you more than anyone else in your life. So I do know that this is a challenge that many people have, that I've had, is that when you are having anxiety about other people, it is because we've given them too much attention, meaning we've given them too much power. And our power really comes from our focus first. What are you thinking about this person that makes you think that they deserve to be in the center of your world, the center of your experience? It really does come from what this person represents to you, what they mean to you. What is it about this person that makes what they do or what they say or what they feel so big to you? You understand? And what is it about this person where they're allowed to become a giant in your life? What is it about them that makes you feel small like this? Because that's really what it is. Someone, if we're being honest, if there are people in our life who we don't tend to allow them to make us feel a certain way, it has to be because there's something about them that we are not over exaggerating in our life, or we're not comparing ourselves to them in our life. Or if you are comparing them, then maybe they're not doing as well as you're doing in some kind of way, and it doesn't make you feel bad. Or they're not, or it's something about them where you can celebrate their good experiences in life. But when these people come around who are giants, they become so big, you become so small. I think one of the questions to ask is, what does this person represent in your life? What is it that you see in them that maybe you don't see in yourself? And this isn't something that you need to work out with them. This is something to work out within yourself, because there's no one who we need to look at as having more than us or any kind of way that makes you feel less about yourself. And so it always comes back to self when you have somebody who's a giant in your life. And when you come back to self, and again, do those things I mentioned, those ways you nurture yourself, you become back at the main focus of your life. And these other people can go off to the side and they have their purpose in your play, but they don't take up the whole storyline anymore. So that's number one. Number two is dealing with people who more than likely you love in some type of way, or have some kind of care for, and they've disappointed you. So there are difficult people in our life. When we're dealing with difficult people in our life, there are the people who can cause disappointment. And this means that at some point we had an expectation of them and possibly they let us down. we had an idea for them and possibly things didn't go the way that we wanted based on the decisions they made or what they did. But it can make you feel disappointed. And I found in my life that oftentimes when I'm disappointed from people, it's people who I did have an expectation from and who I wanted to see good for. You know, there's an element of wanting to control the narrative of people's life when we have disappointment, or wanting to control the outcomes of situations when we have disappointment. But one of the things that I've learned that I would love to just put out there for you to consider, and it was a challenging thing for me to learn, and that is that I can't make, especially a grown person, I cannot make any other grown person do anything. And that's hard because especially when you've had children and you've raised children, there's a period of time where your children trust in you completely. They listen to you. They trust what you say. They actually lean on what you say. You know, but even with children, as they grow, there comes an inevitable part of life where they are designed to start thinking for themselves, which may be opposing to what you would want to tell them. Or, you know, they have just a different outlook. That can be challenging. But now when we're not even talking about our children, we're just talking about other people in our life who, you know, have a different perspective. They come from a different background. They've had different experiences. They have a different view that may make it where whatever their decisions are could be disappointing to you, or they've hurt you in some type of way that's disappointing to you. You know, all of these things can be a big part of dealing with difficult people. But something that I've learned through my own life experience and spiritually, it's been really helpful for me to understand this, is that people are here to learn their own particular lessons. My real soul belief is that our soul comes here to experience in the purpose and effort of learning and for the soul to further develop. And when I can remember that, if I have a loved one who is disappointing me, I can many times sit back and remember that this is about their life and this is about the things that they need to learn in their life. And so, of course, we're there to support, but when things become such a tug of war and it seems so hard, I remember that I only have control over my own life, and my soul is probably also learning through the struggle I'm having with what this person is experiencing too. But these people who are in our life, I really see that even in a person's challenges, even if someone disappoints you because they make a decision that you think is not the best, what I remember is that a person has come here for a particular experience, for their soul to learn a particular thing, and it takes certain life experiences for that to happen. Now, am I there for them? I am still there for them, but this quest of really trying to control the outcomes is one that will leave you disappointed, and is one that can be exhausting, and it can make it challenging in relationships. You know, I had a brother who has since transitioned, and I remember a big part of his life, and I'll tell his story and my story about our relationship one day, because it really speaks to difficult relationships, but the beauty of it all. But he had his challenges, he had his struggles in life. And I remember for so long trying to control his struggles, trying to, you know, control what happened. But I had to really see the bigger picture. And it made so much more sense to me when I could understand that he came here, his soul came here for a purpose, to live and learn through the specific experiences that he had. And it caused me to let go some and to recognize that we are more than our human experience. So if I know that there's a soul lesson in our experiences, it makes me realize that our soul is bigger than our human experience, and that I can have some peace understanding that people in my life who choose different paths, who do different things, who have different experiences, I can still hold them in love and allow them to have their experiences, you know, and sometimes people come back around and you see them evolve from those experiences, or you see that they come to you for support and you can happily welcome the support. But it's a challenging thing to deal with, and it makes relationships and people difficult in your life. It makes it a difficult experience, but there's a larger beauty in allowing people to have their experiences and to figure out what is it that you learn even through their experiences to help you grow as well. And then finally, it is the growth that can happen when we deal with difficult people. I think that one of the things that really helps me that I want to share with you is that the difficult people in your life can really be the best teachers in your life. Because while we can learn through our good experiences, they're easy. There's something about the pressure that comes from challenging relationships that causes you to more than likely have to grow, have to accept that there are some things that are what they are, but you're able to recognize, what can I learn from this? Because I think what we do in error is when we have difficult people, let's just say they're just difficult people, that come into life and seems to make things hard, it's easy to, get caught up in why that's happening, or, just reflecting on this person's negative characteristics, but when we're growing from someone, more than paying attention to per se how they're acting, it can be, why is this impacting me this way? So it takes it to you learning, why does this particular person trigger me in this way? Because this other person over here has some behaviors that other people don't like that maybe don't bother you. So there's some behaviors that you notice in people that do bother you, and they cause pain, feelings of insecurity, anger, self-doubt, whatever it is. And there are some people where that doesn't happen. So in those moments where you're experiencing these people who bring that out of you, bring that up in you, then it's an opportunity for you to reflect on you, like, well, why does this make me feel this way? Because that's a better answer, and that's a better use of energy when you deal with difficult people. Because when we remember, we can't make anyone do anything, and some people are in your life trying to provoke you. You know what I'm saying? Some people are there, really, they want to provoke you. That's just what it is. But instead of allowing the control to go over to them and be provoked in that way, there's a better use of your energy to understand for yourself, well, like, damn, why is this provoking me? Why is this making me upset? I don't have to be upset about this thing. Or, maybe it's something that you feel justified, some kind of violation, but still in that, how do you move through it? What is the best approach that you can take that gives you the better outcome? And all the time it takes the energy off of them, and it's gonna take it back to you. And how do you navigate through that situation that's occurring? Because in that, oftentimes when we have a really difficult situation that comes up, when we get on the other side of it, if that happens again in life, it doesn't feel as hard when we really come through it. I don't mean when we run from it and then it shows up again in our life, because it will show up again in our life when we run from the difficult people. That difficult person might leave your life, but there'll be another version of them who comes back in your life. I am a witness to that. But when we face the difficult emotions and things that come up from the difficult people, and deal with it, which means oftentimes we deal with it through dealing with the people in a different way, then when that situation has passed and another situation comes up that can look like that, which could be like that test to see how now you move through it, it becomes easier because it's familiar and you already know now, I've gone through this before, I've done this before, and that's powerful. But the running from it isn't powerful. I used to be there was a certain type of person, a loud person that used to really, because I was so quiet, it would really rattle me. Just a certain type of character of a person that I knew when I was in childhood. These people don't just leave. You know what I mean? Like, the person themselves may leave, but the behaviors, if you don't deal with certain behaviors that were a challenge for you in your childhood, when those behaviors come back up in adulthood, because there are adults who act quite like children, and even if they're not acting like children, there are adults who they still embody those character traits. You'll find those people come back up in your life as an adult and in really important relationships. It might be a work environment or a business environment, or you're connected with a partner, a spouse, and a family member of the spouse. It can be any of these things where this person that you ran from in the past, that same type of person shows up in your adult life, but in a way where it's really hard to run from it now. And it makes it so challenging because how do you deal with it? It's hard to deal with it by avoidance. Sometimes avoidance makes things much worse and causes you to eventually be locked in a corner. So the growth that comes from addressing the things, and not so much addressing the people, but addressing you. Sometimes you addressing the thing in you that makes you feel bad from these difficult people will cause you to end up dealing with the people, but it's coming from a more powerful stance, because you've dealt with this within yourself, and this isn't about externally getting a response from them or to get an outcome that you would prefer from them. This is about dealing with something within you at this point, which is very different. So that's what I want to leave with you today. Let me know in these 3 ways, anxiety, disappointment, or growth, what resonates with you the most. Let me know in the comment section. And remember to like this video and share, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.